Taking a quick look here at another old game that I happened to find a copy of in shrink wrap. This is SPI's Sorcerer, which came out in 1975, I believe. Yes, copyright 75 on the cover. There were several different versions of it. There was the SPI flat pack, the big plastic, extra large flat case, basically, that they released a lot of their games in. I tend to avoid those because they're hard to store and they have not held up well over the ages. The plastic tray that the things came in tends to get yellow and kind of brittle with age. So I have one flat pack game, a Mighty Fortress, which was in pretty decent shape when I bought it, but it's sort of the odd man out on my shelves. I have no good place to store it, so it's actually in my closet, stacked under a bunch of other stuff. So now for all SPI games that I've ordered or that I've purchased since then, I always get boxed versions. So this is the boxed version of Sorcerer. It is not the Designer's Edition. And the Designer's Edition would say down here in this corner in sort of large letters, it'll say Designer's Edition for the Designer's Edition of the game, which is the boards. SPI released a limited number of those titles, and for those Designer Editions, the boards were mounted. This is not a Designer's Edition, so the map, it won't be a board, it'll be a paper map included in here. So the shrink wrap was already kind of loose when it showed up. So, as is always the case with any of these old games that are shrink wrapped, you have no way of knowing if it's the original shrink wrap. So, this shrink wrap looks old and decrepit. Is it 40 years old and decrepit? Who can say? There's a ancient price tag on the side of it there. 10.9 something. $13.95, but the rest of it, that is kind of old and cruddy looking, so we'll see. Let me set the camera down here and then rip off the already mostly off shrink wrap. The box is in good shape for a 40-year-old game. Just a little bit of a crease on the paper wrapping over the box there. Pull it off. And we've got rules with the map inserted. Here's the paper map. Sorcerer is notorious for its map being particularly hideous in terms of colors. Lay it out here. As you can see, pastels. I believe Callendale in his video for the game described it as like somebody puked up a bunch of Smarties all over the board, and kind of like that. You got just pastels, yellows, blues, purples, pinks, but nonetheless, it does make the game memorable. In the eyes of most people, they tend to remember, hey, what was that game that had the crazy pastel-colored map? This was it, Sorcerer. So here's the map, and as with all things SPI, Redmond Simonson did the map and the counter design and all the art design. In this case, though, he actually designed this game as well. He didn't design a lot of games, but he did design some of them, notably the Star Force Alpha Centauri that I just did a video of recently. So he tended to do some sort of high concept kind of games, and this sort of fits into that. So here's the rules. You've got your typical SPI case number format, artwork of all your counters there. Again, this was all done by Simonson. And I have no idea how good these rules are. Callendale seemed pretty frustrated by them when he played the game. Just looking at a number of different scenarios. Looks like you got multiplayer in this game too. And then optional rules. So typical SPI style, where they'll put the optional rules in at the end. And then there's some player's notes. Charts on the back. Counters. In the typical counter sheet style of the time. They're that sort of extra wide, folded in the middle. Fairly colorful counters with the simple artwork. These look very much like all the other SPI counters of the era, all throughout the 70s, even into the 80s. Their counters were pretty consistent and consistently excellent. They are all of that matte finish, which I always like. Looks like a good clean die cut. Sometimes in this era you'll get some more crooked or offset die cutting, but not usually with SPI. All their stuff is really consistently good. These are double-sided and very colorful counters for the era. You didn't see a lot of this. That's some pretty serious multicolor right there for SPI counters of this era. They were usually 2-color, 3-color at most. So that's definitely a change for SPI counters. And then you've got your SPI newsletter catalog. This is 79 through 80, so it looks like this was a reprint of the game circa 1979, and then of course they all came with the counter tray. The interesting thing is, on Board Game Geek, the versions of Sorcerer that are listed, there is no boxed version listed that's not Designer's Edition. It only has like 2 different flat pack variations. The original 75 release, which had a multicolored, this was like in color as opposed to this 2-tone cover on the box. So this has to be like a reprint version of the game. So I may snap a picture of this box and post a new version up on Board Game Geek. Interesting thing is too, usually it says SPI over this little logo here in the corner, but nope, it doesn't this time. It just has just the logo. It does say SPI on the side though, and there's nothing on the back, as was typical of SPI games of the era. So there we have it. Quick look at Sorcerer.